Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly for pricing. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a lovely Rolex Oyster Perpetual Datejust M serial number from 2008. This is the 116234 with white gold bezel and stainless steel case. An unusual take on the Datejust. This one has a relatively spare dial, at least in terms of printing, but a surf feet of Rolex branding. We'll talk first about the size. It's a 36mm Datejust, the original size on the original Datejust as it was launched in 1945, so very traditional in profile on the wrist. Reasonably thin. The watch measures 11.8mm thick from lug tip to lug tip, 44mm, and then from end link to end link, the total distance across the wrist, 45.5mm with a 20mm spacing between the lugs. We'll throw the watch on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and you get a good sense of its size. It fits well. It's not too broad across the wrist. I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 13 centimeters in circumference, so it's definitely a unisex option. You can see from over the top, the lugs are nowhere near the edge of my wrist, and the cuff shot, it has a nicely sloped bezel, and it's fairly thin, so it easily slides underneath a tight dress shirt sleeve. The bracelet here is the Oyster, which is the sportier of the two typical choices. You'll see the Jubilee, and you'll also see the Oyster. This is the bracelet you would see, for example, on Explorers, Explorer 2s, Sea Dwellers, Daytonas, and Submariners. So it gives the watch a sporty presence on the wrist. Polished centers, polished outer face, removable links fixed in place by screws, satin shoulders, and then you can see the clasp here features a lift lock system. So while it appears to be a friction fit, you can actually see you have to raise and unlock. There is a beacon to hook internally, and you can see that the clasp is internally polished quite nicely. There's the Easy Link system, which is an in or out 5mm adjustment system. It's the equivalent of adding or removing one sizable link. And then you can see that there are 3 divots drilled inside the clasp, and those are there so you can use your strap tool. There's a spring bar. You can change the anchoring point of the bracelet inside of the clasp. Rolling around the case, it remains a graceful form. It doesn't have the sheer sides or the squared off lugs of the supercase sports watches, and you can see the lug hoods as well as the sides are nicely curved, tapered, and polished. The bezel, which is faceted, is white gold. Rolex has its own foundry. It makes its own golds, its own steels, its own bracelets, clasps, and case, and the 904L steel Rolex uses is highly corrosion resistant. So Rolex likes to say, unlike conventional 316 steel, this steel does not need to be washed or rinsed after exposure to seawater. Rolex also uses what's called gray gold, which is a white gold 18-karat alloy that never needs to be rhodium plated. It is white all the way through. Twin lock crowns screw down. The watch is 100 meters water resistant. And then the dial, this is known as the Jubilee dial, also known as the Rolex dial, and you can see it says Rolex many times. The dial also features applique white gold Roman numerals with a watchmaker's 4 white gold Rolex crown, white gold hands, all that gold to resist oxidation and tarnish over time. Now the watch includes the Cyclops Eye magnifier. Both crystal and Cyclops Eye are in sapphire, and the watch includes a hacking seconds function as well as a quick set function for the date. So the date features a quick set allowing you to rapidly cycle should the watch stop or encounter an irregular length month, and that's how the quick set works. It is handy. Turning the watch over, you can see it has a solid case back, as Rolex watches do. And underneath, manufactured caliber 3135, the same movement that for years would have been found in the Sea Dwellers and the Submariners. It's just as tough in this 100-meter water-resistant Datejust. Bidirectional winding, 48-hour power reserve, 8 beats per second, 31 joules, COSC chronometer. It has the hacking as well as the quick set date, and it's braced against shock with a full balance bridge and a free sprung index. It has a hairspring that is handmade with a Breguet overcoil profile to better enable it to keep even time and accurate time in every position, and it is a certified Swiss COSC chronometer. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.